Have you ever had that strange feeling when you're watching a show? And you think you understand everything, but then they announce a prequel. And suddenly you're questioning everything you thought you knew? Like, wait a second, where does this fit? How does it connect to the story I already fell in love with? That's the feeling fans of the Terminal List are having right now as we head into the new prequel series, The Terminal List, Dark Wolf. And I'm gonna be honest, this show is about to mess with the way you see these characters. Because it doesn't just add detail, it changes how we understand the choices, the betrayals, and the friendships that were at the core of the original story. So let's rewind. If you've seen The Terminal List with Chris Pratt playing James Reece, you know how heavy that story was. It was dark, painful, real. It was about a man whose world was destroyed and who had nothing left except revenge. And at the center of that story was a betrayal that most fans never saw coming. Ben Edwards. His closest friend. His brother in arms. And yet, the guy who had been tangled up in the conspiracy that cost Reece his family. That final scene, when Reece executes Edwards. It wasn't just powerful TV, it was one of those gut punches that stay with you. Because it felt like losing someone you trusted too. Now, Dark Wolf promises to let us go back in time. Not just a little bit back. We're talking 7 years earlier. Back to when Reece and Edwards were serving together, back to when there was no conspiracy. No betrayal, at least, not yet. And here's where things get interesting. Because we, as viewers, are walking into the story carrying a secret that the characters themselves don't know. We know how it ends. We know the ultimate tragedy that's coming. And that knowledge makes everything we see in this prequel 10 times more intense. Think about it. Every time Reece and Ben share a laugh. Every time they put their lives in each other's hands in battle. Every time they promise loyalty. We already feel the sting of the knife that hasn't been twisted yet. That's what makes great prequels so powerful. They aren't just showing us the before. They're setting us up for heartbreak. Because the innocence of the past looks so much sadder once you know the ending. And it's not just about Reece and Edwards. Dark Wolf is also bringing in Raife Hastings, who hardcore fans of Jack Carr's book series have been waiting for. Raife is a fan favorite from the novels. And now he's finally coming into the Prime Video universe. Same with Boozer, another SEAL brother we got a glimpse of before. So we're not just filling in blanks, we're expanding the circle, deepening the bond, and getting a better sense of the world these characters lived in before it came crashing down. But let me break it down real simple so we're all on the same page. 1. Dark Wolf is set exactly 7 years before the events of the Terminal List. 2. It's diving into Ben Edwards' backstory in a way the books never did, because in the novels, his betrayal feels colder, with way less guilt or regret. 3. The version of Edwards we see in Taylor Kitsch's performance is different. More complicated. More human. And Dark Wolf is promising to show us how a good man, a loyal soldier, slowly gets pulled into corruption. Now, if you've ever lost a friend to something you couldn't understand, whether it was bad choices, addiction, a destructive relationship, you know how painful it is to watch someone change in front of your eyes. And that's exactly the kind of personal pain they're tapping into here. We're going to watch Edwards make choices, little by little, that push him further down a path he can't walk back from. And that's a story we can all connect to. Because all of us know what it's like to feel someone slipping away. Here's the thing nobody tells you, 7 years may sound like a long time in TV terms. But in real life, 7 years goes by fast. Think about where you were 7 years ago. Think about who you trusted, who you loved, who you were friends with. Can you even imagine that person betraying you today? That's the gut punch with Dark Wolf. It's not just action and military missions, it's a slow-motion tragedy. Jack Carr, the creator of the books, has already hinted that there might be more than one season of this prequel. And honestly, that makes sense, because to really tell the story of Edward's fall, you need time. You need the build-up. You need the moments that make us love him all over again. So when we finally line back up with the events of the original show, we feel the weight of every decision. And maybe, just maybe, even feel something different about Reece's final decision to end his life. Here's what makes this so genius, if done right. Dark Wolf could actually catch up to the original series. Imagine that. You've got the story of the terminal list happening from Reece's perspective. And then you've got Dark Wolf running parallel, showing everything from Edward's side. Picture the moment when the timelines merge, the betrayal, the confrontation, the friendship torn apart, except this time, you're not just watching from Reece's eyes. You're in Ben's shoes too. That scene on the boat? That could hit 1,000 times harder when you've lived the past 7 years with both of them. And that's exactly why Dark Wolf isn't just an extra side story. It's essential viewing if you want the full emotional impact of this world. Because the terminal list gave us the shock of betrayal, Dark Wolf is going to give us the slow burn of understanding. But let's pull back for a second, because I want to speak to you directly. Not just as fans of a show, but as people. Think about your own life. Think about how complicated people are. Nobody starts out as the villain in their own story. Nobody wakes up one day and says, you know what, I think I'll betray my best friend. No. It happens slowly, choice by choice. Usually starting with reasons that feel right in the moment. That's what makes people dangerous. That's what makes stories like this sting. Because they remind us that trust and loyalty can bend under pressure. And once they break, there's no going back. I don't know about you, but that hits me on a personal level. Because we've all had that one person we thought we could count on forever, until the moment came when we realized we couldn't. And that betrayal doesn't just disappear. It lingers. It lives with you. It rewrites your memories. Suddenly, the good times don't feel so good anymore, because they're stained with what came after. That's what James Reece lived with. And now, with Dark Wolf, that's what we're going to live with too. And here's the part where you come in. Yeah, you. Because this channel isn't just me talking into a camera, it's us building a place where we can dive into stories like this together. So I want you to do 3 things. First, if you're hyped for Dark Wolf, smash that like button so more people who are fans of the terminal list find this video. Second, drop a comment below and tell me, what moment from the original show broke you the most? Was it Boozer? Was it Reece's family? Was it the Edwards betrayal? I want to hear your raw, unfiltered take. Because those conversations are what keep this community alive. And third, if you haven't already, hit subscribe, because we're going to be covering every update, every trailer, every detail about Dark Wolf as it comes out. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. This is what I love about storytelling. It's not just entertainment. It's a mirror. It lets us see ourselves, our relationships, our pain, in the struggles of characters who feel real because their choices feel real. And with Dark Wolf, we're not just getting more of the same. We're getting a chance to go deeper. To understand betrayal in a way that feels almost too close for comfort. So buckle up, because this isn't just another military thriller. This is a story about trust, loyalty, and the kind of heartbreak that doesn't heal. And if the terminal list left you breathless, Dark Wolf is about to take you even deeper. And the real question for all of us, once we see it, will be this: when you really understand Ben Edwards, when you've walked in his shoes for 7 years, will you still see him as a traitor? Or will you see him as something else entirely? Because sometimes, the scariest truth is that the villains we fear the most are just heroes whose stories ended differently than we expected.